Hey guys, it has been a little minute since I've posted a long form YouTube video. Probably it's been like at least a month. I've posted some shorts here and there and maybe did like some community posts, but a lot of you have been asking, when are you gonna post videos again? I miss you and the boys. I miss your videos. And there's just been a lot going on. You guys know 2 months ago I started a new job, which that's been going great, but that took so much of my time adjusting to waking up at 5:30 a.m., being out the door by 7. And then 2 weeks into me taking the new job and working it, my mom, in the middle of the night when she was at home, she tripped and she fell. And when she fell, she fractured her spine in 2 places, and she was in the hospital for a week. And then she's been at home doing physical therapy, OT, home health. Like, she couldn't even take a shower by herself, you guys. And all of that happened 2 weeks into me starting that job. And you guys know, if you're new here, my mom, she would come help with the kids, get them on and off the bus, and just be here, 2 or 3 times a week on the days that their dad had to work. And with me working this new schedule, my old job, I worked during school hours, and now I typically work like 8 to 4:30, 8:30 to 5. So I'd have to leave at 7 to get to work because I have a little commute now. So all of that happened 2 weeks into me starting the new job, and it was stressful, y'all, because the first thing I thought was, oh my God, I just started this job. What am I gonna do a couple days out of the week? Thankfully, the boys, their dad's nephew's mom has been a great help with getting the boys to and from school on the days that their dad's at work, and she's been a blessing. That's been the only thing that's been like our saving grace during that, because you guys know me, I'm a worrier, I stress, and I always feel like as soon as life gets better, there's just always something that creeps up and happens. So there was that. I didn't talk about my mom in this last fall, and that last fall, you guys know, she fell back in March. She had an accident on their scooter and she broke her pelvis, and she was in the hospital for a month, and then she stayed with me for a month while she was doing physical therapy at home. And then she's just been through a lot. Her body's been through a lot. My mom is only 64. She'll be 65 in November, but she's had a rough life. Her body's definitely went through 2 major accidents, and she's a diabetic. It takes her longer to heal. Just a lot has happened to her body. So this time she's struggling to come back for this, and I don't really know if she's ever going to be the same. So she no longer can help and care for the boys, which is tough. It's sad, but I don't want to put her safety, the boys' safety, in jeopardy, in case something happens. And I work 45 minutes away. Their dad works almost an hour away. So if something was to happen to my mom here with the boys, that would just be not only devastating and scary for my mom, but for the kids as well. And we just made the decision that it was just better off not to even rely on my mom or to put that on her anymore. And then she's just not in the state to be able to do that anymore. So that's been tough. That's been a lot of stress with that, but I've persevered and pushed through it. But along with that, there's been some other things that's been kind of going on that I've been dealing with, that's been kind of life-changing and really, really hard. I'm gonna try not to cry. I cannot make any promises because this is so fresh and I'm still dealing and still going through this, but you guys know I always love to keep it real with you guys. I love to share things with you that I'm comfortable sharing and respect, my privacy, my children's privacy, anybody in my life, but still be real and honest and show up as myself for you guys, because that's what I've built this platform on. And I've always wanted it to be a space where other women who are going through things can come here and feel safe and know that they have a safe space where other women, I've been through so much in my life, but I've overcome a lot too. And it's really made me the woman that I am. So I'm always going to try to show up for you guys the best that I can and just be real and honest with what's going on in my life. You guys are always very supportive. You know, I don't always share all details, all aspects of my life, but you guys know me and the boys. Their dad, we split back in 2020, and it was rough. It was rough. The first couple of years, honestly, up until like the last 2 years, were really, really rough. A lot of bitterness, a lot of anger on both sides of it. You know, I wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect. I never talked about any of those things, though. You know, I never came on here and said anything bad about him. I never really shared like the specifics of our relationship and everything that was going on. Just, you know, out of respect for him. And it was just no one's business but ours. There's some things that you just need to go through and keep between, you know, you and that person. Well, with all of that, the last 6 months, if you guys have paid attention to reels and stuff, I'm sure you've seen me and the boys have taken some family trips with their dad, and we've been kind of coming to a place where we were trying to work things out. We felt like maybe now, you know, the last couple years we've both have went through things separately, and all the things that we put each other through too, because like I said, it was not a lot of you know, you would see their dad like pop up here and there. I may like say something about him, you know, in a vlog or something, or if we were out somewhere and their dad would like meet us and do something, and you guys always said like you respected and you loved how we were able to do that. It wasn't always easy, y'all. There was a lot on both sides, but in the last 6 months we've kind of like reconnected in a lot. You know, I've always cared about their dad. I always will, regardless, you know, of where our relationship stands or where we are. I've always loved him and cared for him. You know, he's the father of my children. And I spent you know, I've known him for the last 11, 12 years of my life. So he's always been a big person in my life. So in the last 6 months, we've kind of reconnected, and I've never shared those things again. You guys know I've only shared one relationship on here after their dad, and that didn't go as planned. And I was really devastated by that, but we live and we learn, and I feel like we go through things and it just molds us and makes us stronger and makes us more into a more powerful woman, you know, the woman that we're meant to be, which is okay. But me and their dad have rekindled and been working on things. You know, I'm not sure where we really are, but with that, we've gotten closer again, and we had found out something during the process of us kind of rekindling things and building our relationship and reconnecting. Again, I'm gonna try not to cry, y'all, but a few weeks ago, I had found out that I was pregnant, and I was actually really, really excited about it. I was really, really excited about it. I felt like it was kind of like a fresh start. You know, I felt like God was pulling us back together, and maybe this was going to be what we needed to make things right this time, because when we were together the first time, we went through a lot, you guys. We had some hard times where we had nothing. Like when I was pregnant with Tank, he had lost his job. I was working at Aldi. Our car had broke down. I was walking to work pregnant. His mom passed away, you know, a couple months after Tank was born. We went through a lot. I had postpartum depression. There was a lot of times that should have drawn us apart, and we stayed together. But then, you know, ultimately in 2020, a lot of those same things, they drove us apart again, and I decided to leave. And just be me and the boys, you know, and it was just me and the boys. As you guys saw all these years, it was just me and the boys. Well, we went on our little weekend trip a couple weeks ago, and we had found out that I was pregnant. And as soon as I found out, it was taken from me. At my first ultrasound, I went to my first ultrasound, and it did not go good at all. It was, the tech had said some things that were very alarming, and I didn't know how to feel because I had just found out. I was still processing, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have another baby, like I'm pregnant, and had found out that I had lost the baby, that there was a gestational sac, but there was no baby there. So they were very alarmed. I was already considered where I was going to be high risk because you guys know I have high blood pressure that I've been dealing with ever since I turned 30. I'm 34 now. So all of these changes were happening. You know, they switched me on different blood pressure meds. They put me on prenatals. I go get my first ultrasound. I had all this blood work done. Then find out there's a gestational sac, but they don't see a baby. There's no heartbeat. And with all that, I didn't know how to process it still. I still wasn't processing it because I had just found out. And at this point, I should have been like 12, 13 weeks, you guys. But there was a sac, but no baby. So I had to get more blood work done. After a couple days, I then found out my levels were dropping. I had no cramping, no bleeding. Only thing I was tired, but I put that into everything that was going on. You know, I was dealing with all these things with my mom, working these different hours, long days. I was like, I'm just tired, you know, naturally. And then I have 3 boys, but I was pregnant and I didn't know it. And again, you guys are probably like, how you didn't know? You guys, when I was pregnant with Samir, I didn't find out I was pregnant with Samir until I was almost like 4 months pregnant. So Samir's pregnancy went fast. And then I had Samir at 36 weeks. So that was a fast-ass pregnancy. And my periods have always never been like, they've been like to the T where I've tracked them. But then there's been times, you know, where your cycle changes. So the last period I had was in July. And in August, what I thought was a period wasn't a period. But at some point around 6 weeks, they said the baby had stopped developing and they called it a miscarriage. I still was not processing all of this, you guys. I still was having to go to work. But when all this did happen, like the day that I found out at my ultrasound, I did text my boss and was like, hey, she knew I was at an appointment and everything. I was like, hey, I found out some news at my appointment. I need to just take the day. I can't come in. I need to deal with this. And she was like, okay. And then the next day when I went in, she was like, you know, she came to my office and she said, I respect your privacy. You do not have to tell me what is going on, but is everything okay? She was really alarmed by my text. She said, I was just really worried about you. I thought about it all day. So I did tell her what was going on, and she was very empathetic, and she was the only person that knew. I hadn't told anybody. The only one that knew was me and their dad. No one else knew. So I was going through all of this, didn't tell anybody, and I didn't know how to process it. And I feel like I wasn't processing it because they're like, when the doctors called me and talked to me, they're like, you know, how do you feel? And I'm like, you know, I just like found out I was pregnant. I just had my ultrasound. And when you go to your first ultrasound, you're excited because you're expecting to see something. You know, maybe you're not going to see much, but at this point they were thinking, you know, I was like 11, like when I found out, they thought I was like 11 weeks at the time. So, you know, I was expecting to see something. When you go in and all you see is a sac, and I didn't even see the screen. They wouldn't even turn and show me the screen when I had my ultrasound. But when all of this happens, it's like you find out, you go to ultrasound. I didn't get to process it, you guys, because I still was holding it all in. I couldn't process those feelings. There was feelings there. I just didn't know how to process the feelings. So I told my boss everything. And, you know, she said she had went through something similar, a miscarriage, when she was pregnant with her first. And, you know, she made me feel very safe and very comfortable. She's been amazing through all of this. So I ended up going in and seeing the doctor after the blood work levels showed that my like numbers went down like 400 or 500 points. They were dropping. So it was decided that it was a miscarriage. And he said some women, they don't have signs. And your body just doesn't register that the pregnancy isn't viable. The way that the doctor explained it was, when this happens, it's nothing that you did wrong. It's typically, you know, when all of that happens, something doesn't work out and the body like registers it and the pregnancy doesn't continue. And some women may not show any symptoms, or their body just doesn't register that it's happening until like all your pregnancy levels drop, which at that point, none of that was happening for me. So I was scheduled to have a D&C, but then a couple days before I was supposed to have it, which actually I was supposed to have it today, you guys, I'm not having it because on Sunday evening, I started having some very intense bleeding and some very intense cramps that were horrible. When I say horrible, I was in tears. Like, I had to call their dad to come here because I thought maybe I needed to go to the hospital because the pain was so bad. It literally felt like labor contractions, which now that I think about it, makes sense because my body was starting the process. It was, my cervix was contracting to start the process. It was tough. Any woman that's ever went through that, man, or women that have went through that multiple times, I don't know how you did it, because that was tough. So when I called my doctor, I let them know Monday, like, hey, I had some bleeding going on, let them know what happened. I had to go in for an ultrasound yesterday, and they said, we think that the process started, your body naturally did it, but they wanted to do an ultrasound, and the ultrasound showed that I had passed the baby and everything was cleared out and I wasn't going to need the D&C, which this radiologist tech that did it, ultrasound tech, whatever they're called, she was super compassionate. She was great. She made me feel so comfortable. And I think I finally like accepted everything that was happening, because when I was on my way to that ultrasound appointment when I left work, I just bawled and I felt like I was having a panic attack, to be honest. I just couldn't breathe. My heart was racing and I cried because I felt like I finally was able to process everything, like the reality of everything that was happening. I feel like I'm still processing it, you guys. I only had told a couple people, which shout out to my friend Brittany. She's been amazing. Brittany was someone that I met through YouTube years ago when I first started, and she's always been such an amazing friend. It's been tough. Really tough. When you just, a woman, like, your body is, it's just amazing and scary, like what we can go through and what our body can handle. And I don't know how to feel, but I felt like I needed to share this with you guys, and I feel like it's a way for me to process and heal too. And I know it's going to take time. This is not going to happen overnight where I'm going to be okay. And for anyone that has anything to say, I don't give a shit. I don't cuss on here, but this is like personal. People are in our lives, or, you know, because no one knew. And again, it's no one's business. You just do what's best for you and your family. And we were at a place where we felt like life was bringing us back together, and we were in good places in our life, and it was the right time. And, you know, I've always said everything happens for a reason, and I'm a firm believer in that. I feel like through all the bad, all the good, life, God places you where you're supposed to be at that time. And it may not always make sense, but when it happens, you may not understand it, but it all works itself out. So that's kind of where we both had felt like with that. And yeah, that's why I haven't been posting. I've been going through it, y'all. Really going through it. And I know I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get through this. But this was tough, y'all. It was tough on my body, my mental. And then the boys, they didn't even know because, I didn't take it severe. I feel like they wouldn't understand. And like, and it's like, that's just a lot to process and for them to get. And I just felt like it was better for them not to know what was going on. And through all of that, I managed to still just get up every day and just push through it. But today, I took the day because I was supposed to have the day off. My boss was like, no, rest, recover, take the day for you, because I felt like I haven't done that. I don't know when I'm going to film vlogs again. I really don't know, you guys. It may be tomorrow. It may be a month from now. It may be weeks from now. I may never do long form content again. And I just feel like now too, with just the way social media is, everybody wants reels. Everyone wants the quick, the fast, the short. So I don't know what I'm going to do. But I do know that I wanted to just be real with you guys and be honest and just share life and share an update and share what's going on. Because so many of you have been there and supported me in some very dark, tough times. And I've made some amazing friendships with a lot of you on here. I don't ever view you guys as like subscribers, my followers. I've always viewed you guys like my tribe. I always say this is my tribe here because it's been a space where a lot of women have come and supported me, and I've helped a lot of women through things, and I just love you guys. And I'm going to get through this. And if any other woman has went through this, if you have any words of advice, tips on how to process and deal and cope, please let me know, because this is tough. It's really, really tough. But I love you guys. And I appreciate you guys always being so patient and so supportive of whatever life throws at me, and still choosing to, be here and support. And it'll all work out. I love you guys.